Hello everyone and welcome to the 12th and final round of ExA Season 8 Division 2. We are here at Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix this evening. The 4.3 mile circuit is the longest on the Formula 1 calendar, contains 19 corners, 8 to the left and 11 to the right, with 2 DRS zones and many iconic corners completing the circuit. First joining the calendar in its maiden F1 season in 1950. It's held 58 out of the 69 Formula 1 Grand Prix since that year across multiple different configurations, whether it's the 8.1 mile configuration or the very much shortened down 4.31 we see today. The most successful driver at the Belgian Grand Prix has been Michael Schumacher with 6 wins. Ayrton Senna and Lewis Hamilton are one behind him, tied on 5 at the Grand Prix. The circuit has thrown up some enthralling action, as we'll see more here tonight. I'm your commentator Jamie Jackson, and for tonight's action, but we'll need to go through some things first. The championship, last race, if you weren't here, last race we saw Anton, who won ahead of Tobias in second, Runnered in third, ran at the podium. Nelu Safu in fourth, Dylan in fifth, Ironat in sixth, Gabriel in seventh, Ivigo eighth, Paul Diver ninth, Billy ran out the top 10. Leaving that in the driver's standings, we have Anton, who is now our driver's champion with 42-point lead over Runnered. Vigo in third, Ironat in fourth, Nelu Safu and Zoran in fifth and sixth. Tobias in 7th, Icky Robo, Paul Diver and Flores ran out the top 10. So while the championship has been decided, the rest of the field has not. There's still a lot to play for here tonight. The driver's second place in the championship can still go to either Vigo or Runnered by the end of the evening. Ironat has to defend from Nelu Safu and potentially Zoran in the of 2 Ferrari drivers coming towards him for fourth, as well as Tobias Ikirobo still within a shout at that P4. In the constructors, though, it is McLaren who win the title by 44 points over Ferrari. Alpine in third, Red Bull fourth, for Aston Martin fifth, Haas in sixth, Williams seventh, Mercedes eighth, RB in ninth, and Sauber in 10th. All teams surpassing the 50-point mark as well. So that has been fairly well balanced in terms of at least no team is right down there on nothing after only 12 race season. We'll see whether who can gain the last number of points tonight. We are now heading into qualifying, and we've got a little bit of a set. We've got 18-minute session, 19 drivers to go. I have not been here in a few weeks, so I can't remember if it's full quality, short quality, or what. I need to get the stream up on my phone, because otherwise I will have no idea what people are talking about, at least on the YouTube side. I don't know about I need to get Twitch up as well, but I have nothing now on my other screen. So we've now got everyone in the pit lane ready to go for the final round. We see the first set of drivers coming out of the pit. So I'm not even clicked on to F1 24. There we go. We will see as they come out of the pits. It's going to be an Aston Martin of Mystic Rick in Mystic Rick 06 coming out of the pit lane first, ahead of the McLaren and Ferrari behind him. Only one team will not have 2 drivers, I believe. I'm trying to work out who it is. It must be Sauber. Sauber is the only team without 2 drivers tonight. The last place team in the championship gonna have an uphill battle in terms of team tactics. However, Right Aiden, I'm going to say that completely wrong, but here we are, is going to have a little bit easier time, because he's not going to have to think about the other driver pitting when he wants to. So he's going to at least be able to optimise his strategy in terms of when he wants to pit. So that's the pros and cons you see of having a teammate. Team tactics, 100%. If you want to work with your teammate, you might not want to. But if you don't, you at least get the box to yourself. You get to be well away from everyone else. As everyone now files out of the pits, a very, very slidey Mystic in the Aston Martin coming round the circuit. I might switch to the Twitch because I don't know what stream has more. We're going to see as he comes up towards the final couple of corners, the final chicane, the bus stop chicane. And we'll see him try and set the first lap time on the board. Coming up to the bus stop now. We'll go on board with the Aston Martin as they will show us on a very ungrippy circuit in comparison to what we see at the end of the session, as the tyres need time to adjust. They need to get some rubber down and get everyone adjusted to the track and racing once more for the final time. They should be really well adjusted if they've been racing in all 12 rounds so far this season. A lot of the drivers have. A couple of the drivers certainly haven't. But we're going to go up towards the Lecombe chicane now. Can the Aston Martin put it a decent lap in and get a lap time in? It's very easy to invalidate various points in the circuit, such as if you go too fast through the exit of Lecombe, you end up in the gravel. You don't want to be running too wide there, getting onto that curb, getting onto the entry curb into No Name, and now down towards Pouon, as it's pretty much flat in qualifying conditions, qualifying fuel, as we go down towards the next chicane. I can't remember the corners names of these ones, but we're going to go all the way through to the end of sector 2 now to start sector 3, and then 1 minute 14.4, which is normally what a lot of times you'll see in the whole lap, let alone 2 sectors of a circuit. We're going to go up towards Blanchimont now, flat out through here in any condition, and invalidates at the exit of Blanchimont. Just not enough turning, and that has completely ruined the Aston Martin's lap time. Barely a thousandth gained, if that, and up to the line. That's a 42.8, but it wouldn't matter because he's not going to be able to set that time. So we're going to see the next time of Sonic be the first driver to set a time, followed by Tier 3 champion Rio Harris, who did not want to commentate tonight due to medical concerns. So we will see him go 42.6, see how he competes in the Tier 2 category tonight. There's high hopes for him, considering Le Pace does not look too far off in terms of it, but he will have to do some adjusting because he's going to be very different people to what he normally races. As we now go to the Red Bull driver, no, maybe not, it's the Mercedes of Reese, currently invalidated and goes into the pits. He will not be setting a lap time, so it will be Rytek in the Sauber 44.4, quite a few seconds off of Sonic. Not really a validated a true pace lap then, as the Sauber will need to recharge that battery. We'll have Raven West who will be up to the line next. He's coming round the bus stop chicane. Can Raven West put himself up there? 41.8, 3 tenths off, if that, of the McLaren, but done a very decent lap to get that on the board. Blazer 42.3, Strikey 42.4, only a couple tenths ahead of Rio Harris. We got the Alpine of Vigo going into the pit lanes. He will not be setting another time. We next will have the McLaren of Rowley. Maybe he's on an out lap. Never mind, he is not going to be setting a lap yet, so it might be White Josh in the Williams. We're going to see him come up towards the Blanchimont left-hander, and then into the bus stop chicane. Not a bus stop anymore, it is just literally a very, very tight chicane. Used to be a bus stop all those years ago, but now is certainly just a normal chicane. Doesn't make it any less infamous though, because it has seen some made for better action, that change. But it's a 42.8, 2 tenths behind the Ferrari of Rio. We'll see whether he can manage it tonight to get further up the field. We will see the Ferrari of Nelu Safu invalidated, so therefore he will not be setting another time. It will be next behind him is Rytek, who's also invalidated. I don't think he's on a lap anyway, so it will be I believe AMR Washed, who will be, he's going through, never mind, that's Raven West, who's on an in lap. So we're going to see, oh, that's very, very dangerous between Washed and the Williams in front of him, and that has ultimately led to both drivers, Washed, being in the wall, full front wing damage, lucky to get away without damage, but I know it's the final race of the season, gents, but we've got to keep it a little bit clean on qualifying and race towards the end. We can't afford to have any sort of penalties, decide any sort of racing, or anything that may happen next season. I'm not sure how ExA decides it, but if they decide, oh, we're going to give you a penalty for next season, that goes into effect next season, then absolutely fair enough to you. And now we're going to go. We're going to see whether Wash will go back into the pits, so it'll be the next driver. Who is next? It will be Chaz, who's currently on a lap. Yeah, it is Chaz going up towards the Blanchimont and is now in sector 3. Where does the RB put themselves? Not really using up much ERS, maybe deciding to come in, maybe deciding not to go for it. Actually, he's used up quite a bit of ERS. You can see it on the dash. Has probably used it all in sector 1, so we'll see whether that has helped him. He's going to be quite far off though. The RB up to the line of 44.5 puts him at the bottom of the 8 drivers who have set a lap time. So unfortunately for him, will not be happy with that one. So next driver across the line will be Rowley, I believe, will be the next driver. Yes, it is the owner of ExA, currently going through the chicane of campus in turn 14, and then into turn 15 at Stavilo, and then up through 16, now 15.6 in the first 2 sectors. Can he get enough time on his teammate to go fastest? We're going up to Blanchimont now through 17, and then into turn 18. Flat through there, touches the grass, turns in a little bit too early, has used up all of his battery now, so this is going to be affecting him all the way down and straight into the bus stop, and there's going to be a little bit of lock up there from the McLaren, and that, and a bit of an oversteer on the exit the curve. That's not been the greatest of sector 3s, but up to the line, does a 44.3, puts himself a half a tenth ahead, of Rytek, and a couple tenths clear of Chaz. McLaren, though, not going to be quite happy with that lap, especially the final sector when they used up too much of their battery, and that ultimately would have affected their time. Sonic will be starting the next flying lap, so our next driver across the line will be Mystic Rick. No, Mystic Rick is all about miles away, but we'll stay on with the Aston Martin. We're about to go through No Name now, and then towards Puom. Can the Aston Martin go and compete with Sonic and Raven West at the top of the time sheets? Not even half the field has set a lap time yet. Is that going to be possible for the Aston Martin to get themselves up the order? We're going to see Strikey goes, not Strikey, Icky Robo goes to P6, 42.7 for the Red Bull. We're going to see a couple of the Alpines go through as well, while Mystic Rick is going to go up through Blanchimont now. Can the Aston Martin put himself up there as Strikey is now given a slipstream to his teammate, I do believe, or it might be the other way around of Vega, I'm not sure who's helping who, but we're going to stay on with the Aston Martin, who's coming up to the bus stop chicane, gets a bit of a snap on the first part of the chicane, but it does not deter him. He goes up to the line, a 42.9, just about less than a tenth behind the Williams of White Josh, but he will need to find more time to improve, because those gaps are certainly going to be filled in very, very shortly. We're going to see who's next. It'll be McLaren of Sonic, who's coming up to the line. The current pole sitter, 10th up on his personal, his fastest lap so far. Provisional pole sitter up to line, does even faster. Goes a little bit slower than what he did in the last sector the previous time round, but an extra 300ths might give him the edge. That extra bit of track knowledge is crucial, especially if you are going faster. You know where you're losing time in compared to your first lap, and you know where you are gaining time. So it is opportunity for Sonic, who's got a couple tenth gap and is certainly being helped at this stage. We're going to see the Ferrari of Nelu Safu, I believe, come up to the line next. Yeah, they will. Going to go into the bus stop chicane. Where does the Ferrari lie? We're going to go and put themselves into a 42.8, which is a P8. That just shows how quick Sonic and Rain West pace is. And I've just seen that the other Ferrari, Rio Harris, is at 42.2. Excellent stuff by the Division 3 driver, champion. Just putting his name where he needs to be. And even though he is a Division 3 driver, he looks right at home in this tier for the final race of the season. Excellent stuff from the Ferrari. Maybe we'll be seeing his name in this division next season on F1 25. Raven West goes fastest though, 41.5, goes to 300s quicker than Sonic. And that is an excellent job by the Haas. Next up to the line will be the Williams of Josh, who's coming up to the line. Goes 7 tenths faster in sector 2, goes 7 tenths faster overall, 42.0, half a second off of the pole sitting times. But in saying that, Wash has decided to go fastest by just over a tenth of a second to his teammates. A Haas 1-2. Excellent stuff from the Haas boys. They're now looking right in the prime seat to take a 1-2 front row lockout if the drivers behind can't do anything about it. We're going to see the Aston Martin of Mystic Rick coming up. Oh, that's the wrong one. Mystic Rick and Danger Wingstone both coming into the pits. This might be problematic for Mystic, who's going to have the problem of having his teammate in front of him, costing him time because they've come into the pits so close together. And when now, because there's yellow flags everywhere, you can't actually see any how long he got left in the session. But that could ultimately put him out of place if we haven't got that long left. And we're seeing that Ferrari just trundle around the circuit. We have too long left to even look. The Aston Martin is, we're going to see who's next up to the line. It will be Blazer, who is coming into the pit lane. So everyone coming into that pit, and everyone is going to go out for that one final runs at the end of the session. Who will take pole position? We're seeing Rytek come up to the line. We're going to see an RB come on their out lap. It's Chaz, who is about to start a flying lap. And most drivers are yet to set one. I think Rio actually is on the lap. Yet Rio coming up to the Blanchard one actually. We'll stay on with Rio and go towards the bus stop chicane. We'll see whether the Ferrari can manage to get the improvements needed to go fight for pole. Looked very clean through there, looks very controlled, puts himself on a 42.0, nearly 2 tenths quicker than what he previously said. No, nearly 3 tenths quicker, sorry, than what he previously said, and is now right in the hunt and is just is the best of the rest, really. That top 3 look quite set in stone, unless Paul Diver and Anand. Actually, no, Anand's supposed to be, I don't even know, is Anand racing? Yeah. And that looks to be set in stone for the moment. And we're going to see who is next. It will be Chaz. Chaz will be the next driver to set a lap time. While Rytek is about to start a lap, everyone is now filing out the pits. This might be the worst timing possible for Rytek. Because the Sauber is going to come out when it come up to the line and start his lap when everyone is coming out the pits. This could lead to a very big load of impedings for him. But 1.6 seconds up on his personal best is Chaz. The V-Carb is absolutely on fire right now. Can they get the improvements needed in the bus stop chicane? Because this is going to be where they need to make the difference. 1 minute 50 left to go after a long period of just saying yellow flags. We're going to see whether the whether the RB can get their way. A bit of a correction needed in that final chicane, and that is not what you wanted. 42.9 puts himself P12 at the moment, but that is all said and done for the V-Carb. They're not going to be able to get another time in. Speaking of someone who's not going to be able to get a time in, I think that's Rowley, who's going to just come out of the pits there, and they're going to run out of time because they came out right behind Chaz, who'd crossed the line after that 1 minute 40 period. So that is quite crucial. and that could be session done for Rowley. We're going to see who is next up to the line. It will be Rightic, who is coming round. No Name, and up towards Puon. Is this going to be the chance for the Sauber, who's going to go through Puon and see if they can make the improvements needed? A 44.4 currently for them, but there is a lot of time in that. 41.4, 3 seconds is the gain possible, potentially more. Bit of oversteer car, not looking too happy in qualifying. If that's how the car is in probably the biggest, most downfall prominent point of the weekend, how is the car going to handle in the race when there's higher fuel loads? That fuel tank going to be washing you about a little bit. And that car does not look entirely comfortable. We're going to go up towards the bus stop chicane. Can the Sauber get improvements? They look like they get 6/10. Can it be more? Because at the moment I only put P14, and it is P14, 6/10 improvement. And the Sauber will at the moment have a couple drivers who are looking to hunt for them. Rio is the next driver who's going to be setting a time. They're going around sector 3 now. Into the sector they go, nearly 3 tenths up again, putting another lap on those tyres as well. So the tyres not really dying off at this stage for the Scuderia. Can Rio get himself into the top 3, potentially the fight for pole? As we go up towards the chicane now, into the bus stop. Does he do it perfectly? He absolutely nails that. No sign of traction loss, no sign of understeer. Up towards the line at 41.9. Goes only a 10.5 quicker, loses a bit of time in sector 3. But that will be good for P4 at the moment. Next up to the line will be it will be Icky Robo, who goes P6. And then we've got the Aston Martin of Mystic Rice, who will be next across the line. No, he won't. He's deciding to bounce across the bus stop chicane entirely to try and avoid the Alpine of Vigo, who goes P5. Strike, he'll be up next to it. He's invalidated. Got a couple Williamses up towards the line of Blazer and Whitehouse, as I just missed them entirely. So next up to the line will be Sonic, who comes up to the line. So can he take pole position? Is this opportunity for the McLaren as we go up to the line? No, he doesn't. It goes P2, 41.4. Is that enough? That should be enough for Washed, who goes pole position, and no one else can really do anything. And that is pretty much it. Unless Paul Diver can do something. Up to the line. Couldn't see where he went, but I don't think it was enough. No, it wasn't. So that will be Washed, who takes pole position ahead of Sonic. And then ahead of his the other horse of Raven West. Nice shout out to Grid Autosport, by the way, if that is the case. But or the Grid Games, if that's the case. But Reese in P4, White Josh in P5, Blazer in 6th, Dede Royale in P7, Rio Harris, excellent stuff from the Tier 3 champion in P8, Vigo in P9, Paul Diver rounding out the top 10 of the grid. Then we have Icky Robo, Strikey, Nelu Safu, Shaz. We also have Mystic, Rytek, Danger Zone, Danger Wingstone, Rowley and who didn't set a time because I don't think he's actually racing. And that is the grid for the Grand Prix 22 lap race ahead of us. But the top 3 looked in a league of their own in qualifying. Is that going to remain the case for the race? Maybe not, because we have some rain, ladies and gentlemen, to spice up the final race of the season. It is opportunity for these drivers who didn't have who may have had a wet setup, or maybe knowing this rain would come to come back, and maybe that's why the gaps were so large, because they maybe have different variations of dry and wet setups on in a certain window. So we'll see whether that makes any sort of difference. We will be going to the race very, very shortly. Just quickly check everything. So who will win tonight? It looks like the Haasies have it quite well down, as well as Sonic, but if this rain really plays a factor, who can take advantage? with. Let's quickly go to the race director. There everyone. These are the tyres we got. Even though it's raining, it's going to be varied mix of tyres, hards, mediums, and softs on each of the cars. We're going to see whether that makes a difference. We're going to go to 3, 4, 5 red lights for the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go. Seems like a decent start for the Haas, but gets a long wheel spin on the second phase, but keeps it into turn 1. Everyone going into the corner. There's a bit of a spinner from the Mercedes. Half spins it on the exit. Bit of contact there. More spinning as they're all trying to gain traction, but there is none on the exit, and that has lost our pole sitter right down to P11. Sonic takes the lead, but there's a bit of contact there between Raven West and Sonic as we go to the exit of Eau Rouge and Radion. Here comes the Williams. We're 3 wide down towards the chicane at the end of sector 1, nearly 4 wide as the Mercedes dives up the inside of the Williams and the Haas, but the McLaren of Sonic takes the lead. It's going to be Reese who tries to attack Raven West for P2, but that was such a chaos. There's a Williams in the wall of White Josh, but he's managed to stay on. Denner Royale has also gone into the wall. There's more contact and more, but I think we have stayed without any sort of safety car or VSC. We're going to continuing on now. Sonic leads the way as the grip is absolutely nowhere. Absolute difficulty for these drivers who are on varying tyres, all on mediums and softs, except for Z on the hards. We're going to see whether that makes any sort of difference. Sonic through towards sector 3 now. Can he make the gap away from Raven West? The RS will still be enabled at the end of this lap, as I doubt it will have been disabled because we're on the dry compound tyres. Drivers getting on the gravel. This is going to be opportunity for Reese to try and get back up past Blazer as he goes onto the gravel around the outside of Blanchimont. Goes to Mercedes. He takes the position as we go down towards the bus stop chicane. There's going to be a bit of a look from Blazer around the outside, but there's nothing he could do there. A bit of a lock up there from the Mercedes. We're going to see a couple of drivers coming into the pit lane now, involving Raven West, Blazer and Paul Diver, as they all try and fly in, maybe to look at different tyres. Maybe they've got damage as well, as half the field are doing it. 10-second time penalty for Z for speeding in the pit lane, and with one driver out of this race, it might be too soon. We're now going to go down towards Eau Rouge for the second time. Grip is not a premium, as we see a couple drivers with damage in this group, but they know they've got to try and go a little bit longer to take advantage. But there isn't anything that can be done, as we're going to see battles behind between Strikey, Washed and Nello. Washed diving up the inside. Excellent stuff from him. That's an extraordinary dive, and he's done it right into P4, and that is no words for how late that move was, but excellently well controlled from our pole sitter. And then he immediately almost goes for another spin on the exit. This grip track has absolutely no grip, thus people going already onto the intermediate tyres. It's going to be a big mix. Who's going to take advantage on pit at the right time? Drivers who have already pitted look to be strongest, as we now go down towards the end of sector 2. Sonic has to defend from Reese, from Rio, from Washed, and then Strikey around our top 5. The group at the moment gonna have to try and keep the pedal down, because they've got to try and keep as much warmth in those tyres before it gets too cold. As we now go into Blanchimont, Reese gonna try and look left and right as we go into the bus stop chicane, and Mercedes looks to be right on the back of Sonic. As we go down towards turn 1, there's another couple drivers heading into the pit lane, maybe deciding it is time for the intermediate, or another tyre may be damaged for any of them drivers. But Sonic and Reese and Washed and Nello stay out. As we now go through Eau Rouge and Radion, is their opportunity for the Mercedes. As the Mercedes got DRS, as we go down towards the chicane and flies by the McLaren. Sonic settles for P2. Race up to P1. Nelu is now fighting Washed as Nelu Safu has just got by La Haas and moved up to the final podium spot. Washed has moved down the P4 and now has Strikey for company, who he only passed a lap ago. We're seeing a lot of drivers on the intermediates now, but it is still opportunity for these drivers who haven't pitted yet to take some sort of advantage and pit now. But the crucial thing is that a lot of drivers who are already on the inters are in the pit window. If it dries up, this could be good for the drivers on the dries now. But if it keeps getting wetter and it doesn't dry up, it is worst case scenario, and they're going to be dropping right through the field. We're going to be seeing a couple drivers. We're going to see Reese now trying to pull away from Sonic. The 3.4 second gap over Nello in third, as we now go through into see Wash and Strikey. Wash is in the wall. Wash is in the wall at the exit of turn 16, and that is front wing damage for the Haas, who had front wing damage due to a little bit of a interesting moment in qualifying with a Williams, which involved him in the wall. And that Haas is now got front wing damage and will have to be right at the back of the grid by the time he comes out of that pit lane, and that is very unlucky for our pole sitter, who had no sort of luck at the start of this race, but has now retired, and that has gone right down the toilet for Washed. Started on a high, ended in the wall, and that is game over the Haas. Meanwhile, Reese has lost the position of the lead to Sonic. Sonic doing and Reese trying to go as long as they can on these mediums to try and ride out the rain. But is there going to be an opportunity for them to pit later on when the tyres start to come in, dry tyres start to come back into it? If they come back into it, these drivers are absolutely hoping that's the case right now. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to the battle for now third place, which is Pool Diver versus Blazer versus Raven West, and Rio is only 2.2 seconds behind them. The gaps starting to form between groups now of drivers who have already pitted. Icky Robo and actually got by Z in 4P7, the Sauber dropping behind the Red Bull, as we now go back towards the battle for the podium and the battle for the win. Icky Robo's got a 3-second time penalty as well for track limits already on lap 4. Don't want to be doing that too often, otherwise you'll end up with a substantial amount of penalties that will drop you very much down the order, because how close this grid can end up by the end of 22 laps. We now see the Red Bull getting chased by the Williams of Blazer. Raven West currently behind them. The two leaders do pit for the intermediate spot. Is that too little, too late? Because they're going to fall down the field quite substantially as we go now into the chicane. And we wonder where they come out. Pool Diver will now take the lead ahead of Blazer. Raven West will come out in third. Rio will come out. Will be in fourth. We wonder where the McLaren and the Mercedes end up. I think they'll end up behind Rio, but ahead. Maybe they might end up around Rio. Rio and is actually going to come out ahead of Sonic, and Sonic has dropped down to P5. Reese has dropped down to P7 behind Robo. And they're going to continue fighting as we go for a route. That's very dangerous, gents. But we manage it as they go by, and they manage to get by without any sort of collision. Reese, he remains in P6, but Blazer remains in P1. Because we're going to see him go and make a move on Pool Diver. Pool Diver riding wide. That's going to be another move done for Raven West as well. As Pool Diver has to go off track, he concedes the positions, and that might be looked at the shoulds if there was any sort of contact, if he was on the curb, and that is really, really unlucky from the Red Bull. But we're going to see whether Blazer can manage to pull away now from the P3 sitter of Raven West. The drivers seem to close up on the pace a little bit due to different types. Massive snap of oversteer from the Haas. This is opportunity for the Red Bull to try and go by down towards turn 13 and into turn 14. Can the Haas defend? He does defend. Pool Diver has now got to try and get by cleanly without any sort of mistakes from Raven West. He won't be making that one again, that's for certain. Blazer, though, has pulled a 1 second gap already due to that mistake from the Haas, and this is exactly what the Williams wanted. Seeing that Haas in his rearview mirrors, not right behind him, but certainly a few tenths behind him. But that slipstream will certainly start to come into effect. The rain still not pouring down heavily, if at all, and this is going to make the intermediate tyres start to overheat. As we now go into the first turn, as Nelu Safu sets the fastest lap right down in P8. That shows us the grid is beginning to close up a little bit, but Raven West is right back on the back of Blazer. As now we go through Radion and up towards the chicane now, as it's down this long uphill straight that these drivers will just fly by. DRS for the Haas of Raven West, and he takes the lead back from the Williams, and Paul Diver looked to have a little move on Blazer, but Blazer defends that nicely. As we go into the chicane, we're going to see moves as well down the order as Strikey's moved up the P9, dropping Z down to 10th, potentially dropping him out of points shortly if White Josh, who is caught up to that him as well, falls in front of him. We're now on lap 6 of 22. The Haas is trying to desperately pull away when actually see Reese catching being caught again by Icky Robo, who's been right on his tail, but it's a 3 second time penalty, which is not helping his cause. 3 second time penalties have been spoken. Rowley has got one as well. He's down in P14. He's not going to get affected by points, but he'll be certainly affected by position if he gets any more. We now go through towards Blanchimont and up towards the bus stop chicane. It's 5 drivers for the lead, 7 potentially if Reese and Robo catches. But we see actually an RB of Chaz, which has ended up in the wall at the start of sector 3, and then Anand, who's ended up in the wall at Puon, and that is not a good day for the RB. So we're both spinning at the exact same sort of time, but we now 7 for the lead. Who can take this win? We're on lap 7 for the lead. We've got about 2/3 of the race to go. Raven West looks to have at least it covered temporarily, unless Blazer can catch. I think DRS is still enabled, because that slipstream is not the only thing helping that Williams, as he almost flies to him. Sonic, meanwhile, flying up the outside of Bull Diver, tries to make a move but couldn't do anything as Bull Diver defends. The Red Bull looks to not have quite the pace of the Papaya car, but the Papaya car of Sonic is trying everything. Meanwhile, Blazer dives up the inside of Raven West, trying to make any sort of move. Virtual safety car saves the Haas, and that has saved Raven West to lead for only a temporary moment. But Chaz, being out of the session, I believe he retired around Rouge and Radion, and that is not the day the RBs have been wanting. We now are down to 17 drivers. Raven West getting a little bit of a breather, getting to the rebuild his ERS, same the rest of the field behind him, but it will help in defence, but he hasn't been able to go a gap. Anand has actually stopped on the exit of Radion. Drive-through penalty for speeding under SC. VSC strikey as for striking, that is not what you want to be doing in the Alpine, because now all of a sudden you're going to lose out on your points paying position to a couple drivers and be right down the order. We're going to see some battles though between the drivers up front. 4th the lead at the moment. Sonic tries to go around the outside of the bus stop chicane. He'll turn to the inside for the second part, but it'll give the traction to Paul Diver because he has that outside line. They're going to go up towards turn 1 into La Source we go. It's going to be Sonic who takes P3. There's an Aston Martin of Mystic who has gone round. I wonder if there was any sort of contact between him and Danger, but the Aston Martin continues under his own power. As we now go down through Eau Rouge, through Radion, Raven West, Blazer, Sonic, Paul Diver, Rio, Reese, Icky Robo 7 for the lead. Who is gonna take it? Blazer got the slipstream, got the DRS, takes to the inside of the chicane. Raven West later can. Blazer breaks even later. We're gonna see go round the outside. He takes the lead away from the Haas, which he only took away a couple laps ago, and the Williams has flown by the Haas. And now, as Sonic for company, a man who beat him to P2 in qualifying, can he now beat him to P2 in the race, or will it fall the same way that he did in qualifying? A bit of a snap there, a bit of undulation caught the Haas out, and that did not help with the traction. The Haas, he loses a tenth or two to Blazer. He'll be able to gain that back, but it will not be easy to keep Sonic away. We're going to go towards sector 3 now, and through sector 3, through Blanchimont, and through towards the bus stop. We're going to have a slipstream for Sonic all the way down here, but so will Raven West, even though he's a bit closer. Paul Diver's going to have to defend, though, from Rio up the inside of Blanchimont. That's a Max Verstappen-esque like move there back in 2015, and he does so in excellent style. The Tier 3 champion showing why he is the Tier 3 champion, and he's taken P4 away from the Red Bull, and meanwhile he's getting involved in the battle for the lead. It's Williams, Haas, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes as our top 6, and 6 different teams in the top 6. This is showing how close this league has been all season. As now we go through Eau Rouge and through Radion. The Haas of Raven West is much closer to Blazer than what Blazer was a lap ago, and then Raven West to the lead. Never mind, say that again. Sonic goes through. There's contact between the two, and Sonic and Raven West have gone off. It's more contact between them, and that is absolutely devastating for the two, both with damage. They both tried to get the P1 spot. Sonic tried to go through the middle. Contact, tensions boil over on lap 9 of 22 of the final race of the season. 3 of the 3 drivers who were on the top 3 positions now, one of them's out, the second has damage, and the other 2 have damage, and that has absolutely thrown the race into disarray, because it is now Blazer who leads ahead of Rio Harris, ahead of Reese, ahead of 2 Red Bulls of Icky Robo and Paul Diver, as these guys are now going to be trying to win it all, because now they have the 3 fastest drivers firmly out of it for the time being. They will be looking to try and get away. Rio has got to try and catch up to Blazer, though, because Reese is all over the back of the Ferrari, as the Mercedes is trying to find a way by it, because they need to catch Blazer as quickly as possible. They cannot let the Williams get away too quickly. We're going to go through the bus stop chicane. The Ferrari does look to get closer. The DRS is still enabled. That is benefiting the Ferrari and helping him along get close to the Williams. And for how long can the Scuderia keep Reese behind? Because he is much closer to the back end of Rio than Rio is to Blazer. As we now going to go up towards the chicane again for the 10th time this race. We're down the straight. We saw the race completely go on its flip on its head. The lap ago. We're going to go into the chicane a bit. As we go into the chicane, the Mercedes on Reese takes the lead. 3-second time penalty for Rio. That is going to prove costly. Blazer drops down to P3, but Reese makes 2 in 1. Takes the lead, but Rio is going to try and make a move. Bit of a slide there. Almost slid into Reese like it was a bowling pin, but managed to save that one. Blazer trying to go around the outside, but he's not let any room as Rio defends from him. But this has now left Blazer trying to defend from Icky Robo in P3 and P4. These two are going to continue to fight as we go through Puon and down towards turn 13 and 14. It's Mystic Rick has now retired from the session. We are now going to go down towards the end of sector 3. We've got 5 drivers all separated by 2.1 seconds. Looking just the top 4, it's 1.2 seconds. It is Oh, very, very close. Going to see Blazer trying to defend from Icky Robo, but Icky Robo is coming at a very, very rapid pace. Can the Red Bull find a way by? Brakes late, brakes hard, and tries to get himself set up for a move potentially into La Source. If not, the chicane at the end, start of Sector 2, he's going to sit behind for that little bit longer. DRS for Blazer as well, not helping Icky Robo get Icky Robo's calls in trying to get closer. We now go up through Rouge and Radium. Blazer trying to defend from Icky Robo. It's going to be the Blazer who's going to be benefited by DRS though, off the Ferrari, which is going to help him in defence, and nothing will happen this time round. But someone who isn't going to be benefited by DRS will be White Josh, who's going to have to defend from Vigo, but Vigo's closing in, but not closing in at enough. He's going to have to stay behind that little bit longer. As a train behind involving Rody, Strikey, Rytech, Raven West and Sonic it has begun to form two at the back. Not have nice benefit. We're going to see Blazer, who's actually made a mistake of some kind, and that has allowed Icky Robo through for P3. But both the Ferrari of Rio and the Red Bull of Robo with penalties on lap 11 of the race. If the others don't get penalties the same, it could end up them losing positions come the end of the race. Meanwhile, Reese is starting to find his way and find some pace to pull away from the rest of the pack. But Robo is not going to make it easy, because he's going to try and get by Rio, and then he's going to try and hunt down the Mercedes in front of him. It's going to end up Mercedes versus Ferrari versus Red Bull, which we've seen just so many years in Formula 1. Over the last decade and a half. And actually, we're going to see a couple of drivers fall into the pits. It is going to be Robo and Blazer, both of them entering the pits first, potentially for dry compound tyres. It is now switching back to dries, or maybe we're going back to inters. We're going to see some intermediates. So a second set of intermediates. The inters are not lasting very well at all in this race. So we're going to see them, as that has actually allowed Blazer back into ahead of Robo, which will be P6 on the road. Sonic sets the fastest lap of 1:51.0. He's slowly going to come back into this as well, because he's not too far behind. Same with Raven West, who is not that far behind either. They're only 4 seconds adrift. So maybe if there's going to be battling, and those drivers who are already faster anyway continue to pull closer, it could be opportunity. But here's opportunity for Robo. He's going to fire back by Blazer straight away. No contention asked or needed from Blazer, because Robo's flying by before the braking point, and that is what he needed. We're going to actually see maybe blows happen even more, because Sonic and Raven West are going to go fighting down towards the hairpin. These two may get very aggressive if we don't, but luckily Raven West having a bit of composure. Sonic may having composure as well, not to do anything. They're both going to try and race cleanly, but they're catching Rowley at a rate of knots. The McLaren of Rowley is gonna maybe let Sonic by. Team orders may come into effect. Rowley with a 3-second time penalty as well. That'll be actually, yes, team orders for the McLaren team. The Papaya squad making those orders, and Rowley is now going to try and defend from Raven West as best he can to give Sonic a little bit of room. Actually, Sonic is actually going to Raven West is going to dive around the outside of Rowley. He's going to continue around the outside and complete the move as he go through the flat out right hander, and that is a good move from the McLaren, from the Haas. Nelu Safu has moved up to P3 because Paul Diver's gone into the pit lane. The gaps are beginning to form further down the field. However, a gap that hasn't formed at all in the last 5 or 6 laps is Rowboat versus Blazer. We're going to see whether they can hold on to P4. Yes, they should, because Paul Dyer can come up quite far behind. Sonic is beginning to close in on these guys though. He might just fall behind, unfortunately, Paul Diver, as he does by a couple seconds. Raven West is still hot on his heels though. We're going to see Blazer try and make his way by once more on Robo. and retake P4 as you're going to go to the outside. It is going to be quite a quick move, quite an aggressive move, because he went around the outside where the gap was limited, but he made it move, made it efficient and optimised his line ready for the chicane, and that is up into P4 for the Williams. As we now go back to, we're going to continue on now with this battle. Keep an eye on the battle between Sonic and Raven West. Josh is actually making a move on Vigo. They're going to go side by side to chicane. I'm going to keep an eye on the other two battles as well. We're going to go down towards the hairpin. Can Josh defend from Vigo? Will the Alpine try and make the move stick? Going to go around the outside of No Name. Is this the right opportunity? They're going to continue to go side by side all the way down towards Puon. Or is the Williams going to lose the position? The Williams has lost the position. Vigo up to Puon. That is an excellent move. And up to P9. That Alpine done it. Absolute made that move after multiple corners of fighting. Both of them kept it consistent, but there is a bit of damage on White Josh, who is now starting to fall behind potentially with that damage and starting to become a victim of it. We're going to go to the battle for P4 once more. Nelu Safu's actually made a move. Oh no, Rio's into the pit lane, so never mind. Rio entering the pit lane will come out quite far behind these guys, though. Unfortunately, we'll have the better tyres towards the end, but Blazer and Robo are going to have the lead by potentially quite some margin, at least 8 seconds over Reese when he comes into the pits. Rio actually maybe not quite that, because he got that far behind, so maybe might be okay. There's a bit of a yellow flag there. That's Anand who's come out the pit lane, letting people by. That is okay. We're going to continue on, but we're going to see Robo try and make his way by. He makes his way by Blazer with efficiency, and that slipstream is ultimately helping him. Go back to the battle for P5 now. As we're going to see Paul Diver go around the outside of Rio and takes away the Ferrari's P5 position, who's just come out the pit lane and seen that will slip through his fingers while his tyres are certainly cold, trying to get some warmth in them, but the tyres are just not quite gripping at this stage. As we now go through sector 2, through No Name and down towards Puom. Is it the opportunity for Ikirobo and Blazer to pull away, seeing that Rio has dropped behind Paul Diver? They got a 3.7 second gap to the Red Bull behind them, but it's not. But if Paul Diver starts to close in with the tyres he's on now, it could be opportunity for him to fight for potentially a race lead later on in the race. We see Reese coming into the pit lane. We see Nelu coming as well. I believe will come into the pit lane. Actually, no. Nelu decides to stay out. Nelu stays out for another lap, maybe trying to go to the end on these intermediate tyres. Robo will now have P2 and take that away from Reese. Reese will take lose P3 to Blazer as he comes out in about P4, maybe P5. We're going to see. Yeah, he'll come out in P4, about a second or two ahead of the Red Bull Paul Diver. The gaps have certainly begun to open up. We're now going to see DRS from the Williams of Blazer trying to maybe make his way by, but he's unable to do so at this moment. So we'll go quickly to the battle for P9. Vigo is going to have a much closer time with Josh. The Williams is going to try and maybe find his way by. He's got a bit of damage though, so he's going to be cautious. He's going to fight into the chicane again. Josh dives up the inside. Vigo trying to make a cutback. He's going to try and double switch, maybe make the triple switch to get the ultimate run, but Josh ultimately slows mid-corner because of that damage. Not quite getting the line. That ultimately screws Vigo and benefits Josh despite having the worst run. And Josh makes his way up to P9, and these two will continue fighting throughout the rest of the lap. Vigo maybe looking to try and find his way by, because he's going to get held up due to damage from the Williams, and that dirty air as well is not going to be helping his tyres. Vigo going to continue to sit behind for turn 13 and turn 14. But he is unable to do anything about the Williams in front at the moment. We now go down through towards the bus stop chicane for Blazer and Robo Robo on that 3-second time penalty as well. That is crucial by the end of the race. There's a yellow flag. That is for Rowley, who I believe has spun it and caused himself some damage. And that is ultimately disastrous for McLaren, who was already out the points. We're going to see some fighting between the second, third and fourth, maybe. If not, we've got a war between Sonic and Raven West, which is about to continue. The second battle in what is potentially a two-part war. Let's see, the Blazer trying to make a move around the outside of the Red Bull. He does so and retakes P2, and they catch Nelu Safu at a rapid rate of knots. We're going to meanwhile see Sonic try and defend from Raven West. They're going to go side by side through the chicane. Neither of them wants to give up position. They both want to continue fighting. This is not going to help them get closer. Bit of a grass tap left from Raven West, caused him to lose a bit of his back end, but Sonic managing to avoid him, and that has led Raven West to stay in P7, Sonic into P8, but these two are fighting heavily now, and at the moment, despite they are 4.1 behind Rio. Yes, he's got a penalty, but if they pick up a penalty or they don't get closer by a second or by another second and a half, that could ultimately lead to them not getting into that, getting ahead of the Ferrari, especially if they pick up a penalty themselves. We're now going to see Blazer defend from Icky Robo and Reese as we go up towards Blanchimont. They're actually getting very close all of a sudden to Nello, who's 2.7 seconds clear, and this is Nello's tyres beginning to fall away. Maybe he's trying to look to go to the dry tyres if that is an option later on, but it's still raining, so there's no chance of that. Maybe just trying to do a bit of a Charles Leclerc strategy of going long, doing the pit stop left. We now go down towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the 17th time. Lap 17 of 22. Not long left in this season, but so much action still left to happen. 3 drivers, Williams, Red Bull and Mercedes, are being represented. Blazer, Robo, Reese are going to side by side. It's going to be 3 wide down towards the chicane. Reese takes P2 away from the 2 behind him. Extra couple laps on the older set of tyres, and now is on the new set with a few laps newer. Will have the ultimate grip in comparison, moves to P2 ahead of Robo and Blazer in P3 and P4. Robo not losing or gaining in that, but has now got a Mercedes in front of him instead of a Williams. As we now go down towards Pouon, Nello is about to lose the race lead. As we now go through the exit of Pouon, Nello, his tyres are really struggling. Reese is going to try and go round the outside of him as he flies round. Shows the ultimate grip. It's like a different in category they have between the two of them. As now Robo is going to try and make a move around the outside as well. Does so. Nello is going to have no fun looking at the back of them 2 cars, let alone the back of a third, because Blazer, who's being ultimately held up the most in all this, has now about to lose more time, because he could lose DRS or ultimately a slipstream from the cars behind, cars in front. As Blazer gets in to P3, luckily stays remaining quite close to them, but now the battle for the lead as we head on to lap 18. 5 laps to go in this race. Icky Robo will now try and keep up with Reese, but Reese looks to be the fastest driver as we now go down towards Eau Rouge and Radium. There's quite a substantial gap between the drivers, but around them. However, Blazer is going to continue to get closer. He has got DRS still, so that is the most beneficial to him. We now go down towards the chicane. He can't really do much. Meanwhile, Nello is having to defend from Paul Diver. Nello not able to do much. He decides to back out of that entirely, and that allows Paul Diver up to P5. Meanwhile, Sonic is trying to pull away from Raven West, as we see a yellow flag for Rytek, who is now retiring from the session. And that the Salvage Day has not gone to plan. The gaps between the drivers, we've got a couple of 2x2s here, but there's still very close. If drivers start battling hard, all of a sudden it could bring other drivers like Sonic and Raven West closer and closer in the latter stages of the race. We now go into the chicane. Raven West trying to defend from trying to attack Sonic. They've got Icky Robo and Blazer trying to fight it out for P2. They've got penalties, so does Rio, but someone who doesn't behind them is Paul Diver. Rio actually has 6 seconds worth of penalties, maybe starting to pick up a few too many now. Luckily only dropping down 1 position, but it could ultimately be more if he gets another penalty. Nelu, 10-second tyre penalty for corner cutting. That is not the that is not the line I guess you want to be doing, because I assume he's he's gone into the barriers as well. That must be he's got a puncture. That explains a lot, and that has ultimately, after laps of trying to get those tyres to the end, has ended in disaster. Nello will not finish the race in the points. Meanwhile, the battle for P2 continues as we go Blazer into the chicane once more. Gets ahead of Icky Robo. Meanwhile, the battle between Raven West and Sonic will continue. Raven West will fly by and get ahead of Sonic. No sort of battling this time into the chicane. Raven West just doing enough to get by. And now their gap is 6.5 seconds to the cars in front. Ultimately quite substantial with just 3.5 laps to go. Nearly retiring from the race, understandably, but after getting that puncture, Blazer, Icky Robo, Rio are going to continue. Blazer and Icky Robo are going to continue fighting at least. Rio is now dropped 1.2 seconds off. Bull Diver maybe using up his tyres a bit more, maybe a bit aggressive on his tyres, because his pace seems to be quite good at the start of the stint, but as the stint goes on he starts to drop off quite significantly. He was the first to pit as well onto a new set of inters. It looks like he is quite aggressive on those tyres. Blazer will now have to defend from the Red Bull once more, but there's not much you can do at this stage with the DRS in play, as you just look to sit and wait for your driver to pass you, and then you try and make a move off his mistake or the following lap later on. Into the source we go. The Red Bull looking almightily close. We now go down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Blazer got to try and make something of it in terms of defence, try and make it a little bit more difficult for Robo, but there's not much he can do. He's only nearly 3 attempts behind. It's going to be game, set and match for the Red Bull if he wants to overtake, but it doesn't look like he wants to. He wants to sit behind and just wait for that those final laps to count down and ultimately take it when it most matters. They're actually slowing down so much that it's allowed Rio to get right back with them, and Rio is now trying to attack both. Rio doesn't care. He's got extra 3 seconds. He doesn't care if they're slowing each other down. He wants to go for his P2 and try and get by. He's trying left and right, but he can't do anything to get by Robo in the Red Bull, as he's trying to use the slipstream and trying to defend while attacking now from Blazer. He's maybe been told basically, get a move on, son. You've got 3 laps left of this championship. You might as well finish trying fighting. We now go into the chicane of turn 13 and turn 14 as the battle for P2 continues to rage on. This is ultimately going to help Paul Diver, who's 1.7 seconds behind you guys. If you don't get a crack on with it, you're going to end up all 3 of you losing P2, because Paul Diver, without a penalty, is going to be the one to take it. We're now going to see, as we go on to lap 21 of the race, once we exit this Blanchimont and the final chicane, as Rio is going to try and make a move. They're going to try and go 3 wide here, as it almost goes 3 wide. They're not quite. Well, this forced Robo to make some sort of move. This is going to force them to go side by side. Rio has to watch on now, because he can't do anything. Rio in the slipstream gets a bit of contact to the rear diffuser of the Red Bull, dives it up the inside of La Source. Is that the move for P3? Yes, it is on track. He's now going to file himself back in. Well, lap 21 of 22. Rio is going to have to try and get by Blazer very quickly, and then pull got a 3-second gap, 6-second gap, if that, to Paul Diver, and he's gone off. That's Blazer, who's gone miles off the circuit, and that has ultimately left him down in P5, and that is not what you're doing to Williams. The tyres may be starting to give. Rio up to P2 on track, but he will be down to P5 on penalties. As we now go down towards, we're not seeing any sort of battling between Raven West and Sonic, so we're going to stay on with Icky Robo and Rio Harris, and Paul Diver and Blazer, who can eventually sort themselves out in terms of penalties and getting away. Rio seemed to have saved his tyres, but he needs to try and pull a 6-second gap, or hope Paul Diver gets a 3-second pen, so then it's not so much. But at the moment, with only a lap and a half to go, it seems almost impossible considering the conditions. As we now see a spinner of White Josh in P9. He might lose more time, but he might get into a battle with striking for the position on the final lap. Meanwhile, these 4 drivers are going to continue to fight despite the penalties. We've got 1 lap left to go in this championship after these few corners, and this will be Season 8 and F124 done. 1 lap left to go. Reese has started it. He leads by 7.4 seconds in a commanding lead. After that, overtakes the lead and moving into this second stint. He looked like he had the ultimate pace and consistency today. Rio will have to defend as we go into La Source. Can anything happen up front? Because these guys are going to be trying to fight every last breath. Championship does not matter. They don't care about the pens. They want to win on track. Rio gonna look to defend, but Robo is going to be right up his chuff as we go into a chicane, but Rio unable to do much. He's not going to lose to 1 Red Bull. He might lose to 2 as he goes into the first right-hander into the left. Bit of contact there between the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Rio trying to push to its absolute limit, but he cannot do it. Robo as and Paul Diver made their way by for P2 and P3, but it might be a switch around by the end of the race because Paul Diver, no penalties, Robo on 3. If Paul Diver gets any sort of warning, and he already has 2, that is maybe Icky Robos. That's the deciding factor here. A warning. That could be it. As we see Rio trying to make an attack, looking left and right. He's going to continue fighting till the dying depths of this race. And that is what we like to see. Rio just embodying the league racer we all want in this league. As we now go through to the final sector now for the final time, but someone who has led this whole second for the most part of this second stint has done exceptionally well. He's rounding the final chicane now. It's been 22 laps of reasonable chaos, but Reese have come out on top through consistency, through speed. He wins the Belgian Grand Prix and the final race of the season. Robo comes home P2 on track. Rio comes home P3 on track, but Paul Diver comes home P2 on penalties ahead of Robo, ahead of Blazer in P4. Rio drops to P5 in an excellent job from the Tier 3 champion tonight. Raven West comes home 6th, 7th for Vigo, P8 will be for Strikey, and then P9 for Sonic, who has a puncture, and that is not after starting on P3 on the grid, no, P2 on the grid, sorry. That is one way to end the race on lap 22. That has certainly got to be added to how it started and how it ended meme. But unfortunate for Sonic, who might just finish ahead of White Josh if he can get to the line. It's going to be close. We're going to stay on. No, he can't. He's got 3-second time penalty as well while spinning. Josh will come on P9 ahead of Sonic in P10. And that is the final points paying positions. Rowley, Danger, and Anand will come home and finish the race in 11th, 12th, and 13th. Those are the finishers. But Reese B07 has taken the race win in the final race of Division 2 in Season 8. What a race. We started the race with dry tyres on a certainly dampening track. Everyone had no grip. It's the who made the best of it. And we saw excellent driving tonight. I don't even know who started where. I didn't even look at positions gained, but some drivers had excellent races. Robo got driver of the day. Where did Robo even start? I have no idea. But congratulations to race. Congratulations to the 2 Red Bulls as well to stand on the podium in the final race of Season 8 Division 2. There's your finishing order. Race started from P4, P10 and 11 for the 2 Red Bulls. Fastest lap for Rowley, who didn't even finish in the points, so it don't make a difference. But that is Season 8 Division 2 done. It's been 12 races of pure excitement, and this race probably was one of the most chaotic, but in a good way, sort of races, because you had everything, and no one knew who was going to finish where at any point, which tyres were the right to be on, which was the right time to pit. But Reese took and made the best of the worst situation. And he took victory tonight. That is Season 8 done for Division 2. We've got Division 1 tomorrow, and no, we don't have Division 1 tomorrow now. I think we've only got one race left now. Let me have a look. Hold on. We have for Division 1, 23rd of April. No, we are done for Division 1. So just left now is Division 4 final round of the season in Spa. And we'll see. And that is going to be an exciting one. So thank you all for watching the stream. Thank you for watching throughout the season. If it's been with me, it's been with Rio, if it's been with any one of our commentators throughout the season, thank you all for watching. We'll be back for Season 9. It will be F1 25, a whole new game for drivers to get used to, and a whole new exciting championship where everything resets to zero. New drivers, same drivers, different teams. We'll find out. It's all